The U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar. Find the official disc of USA Ultimate at more than 1,900 U.S. retail locations.
Seattle Sockeye, after going 5-1, Jacob Janin, Sam Harkness, Zane Rankin, Simon Montague, Karlinski, Sefton, and Freechild, the starting 7 for Roger Kraft's Sockeye group as they try to keep up with this high-powered offense from Revolver with Cox, Rasmussen, Spear, Cohen, Davis, Kearns, and Liu. Their defensive line for coaches Mike Payne and Devin Anderson.
San Francisco winning the poll, choosing to start on defense, so we'll see the Seattle offense first. It's getting a little gloomier here, but still pretty pleasant for Ultimate at the moment.
Yeah, winds no factor, under 5 miles per hour. We are keeping an eye on the weather. There is the possibility of some showers, maybe a thunderstorm later this afternoon, but right now overcast conditions, keeping things nice and cool for the athletes as we get set for the first of 3 championships here on the ESPN networks. Women's coming up after this one, and then tonight on ESPN2, the mixed final to cap off a great start to the first leg of the Triple Crown.
Change of pace for Cassie Rasmussen. He's been an O-line stalwart for so many years, but basically he's the one that wanted to play D this year, and he can do it. And he'll pull to get things started.
We will talk about the roles that Revolver and this personnel and the players buy into with all these superstars and how Mike Payne manages that throughout the broadcast. Sockeye with the opening possession and a bad start for Seattle. A missed throw as they tried to hit Freechild, and Revolver gets a quick turnover.
Interesting matchups. They had Rasmussen on Freechild, Nathan White on Montague. Not the start Seattle was looking for. And then Revolver can't capitalize. How about that?
Iron Liu unable to haul it in on the feed from Kearns, so the two teams exchange an early turnover. We did not see too many of those in the semifinal from Revolver. They were executing all cylinders in the win against Bravo.
Revolver had 5 turnovers in the game. Very few of them were from the D-line.
Here is Freechild as he was able to get behind Rasmussen on the 69-yard strike right in front of the goal line. Joe Sefton with the soft backhand, and it's Sockeye who fires the opening salvo with Simon Montague.
There's a lot of reasons why Dylan Freechild has elevated his game to be the #1 player, but his speed, to put it most simply, might be #1. Byron Liu's error in the end zone. And Freechild, I haven't seen him lose a foot race in a long time. His decision-making with the disc has been excellent, and he'll get the hockey assist as Montague squeezes through for the goal. Phil Murray with a nice deep shot. Dylan Freechild, he's not the easiest guy to play with because of his style, so integrating him in has been interesting. Unfortunately, he won't get to play with Matt Rader today, an absolute superstar. Team USA in London last year. Yesterday in the semifinals against Truck Stop, second half, went up for a disc, got hit in the back, landed on his knee, went down, and then earlier today before the game, Jacob Janin in warm-ups needed help getting off the field, so Sockeye a bruised bunch at the moment.
With Rader's absence, how does that impact Seattle as far as guys who will have to step up and try to fill that superstar role?
I think it'll change the way they play a little bit more than, because you can't replace Matt Rader. I mean, if they had Nick Stewart, they could maybe do that, but they don't.
Bo Kittredge showing that speed, but he's unable to run underneath that one as it sails. And Revolver, 2 possessions, 2 turnovers.
Yeah, uncharacteristic start for this team that prides itself on discipline being one of the 3 pillars of the program.
Out of the vertical stack, here is Sockeye from their own goal line as they set up the offense, leading 1-0. Hussein Carnegie, who is responsible for corralling Kittredge on that first set, flips it down, and it's tipped away on the D. Beautiful play that time by Joel Schlockett.
Intended for Lynn, but just great catch-up speed from Schlockett. Just whenever you need him to do, he does it for you. Kittredge going deep again.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to pull the trigger a second time, but they kept the gun in the holster. Now they will launch deep downfield toward the end zone, and waiting for it patiently is Stubbs as he corrals it, and Revolver with the long strike.
Chance to break for both teams in the opening couple points. Neither one can do it. A Byron Liu drop on the first point, a Joel Schlockett D on the second, and then Simon Higgins. A few years ago, he was a deep threat, and if he caught it there, he would reset. He has turned himself into a weapon as an initiation cutter with those throws, and Stubbs had the steps, even against a defender like Trent Dillon. He read it well.
I'm gonna lose him.
He was prepared to body for position if he needed to, but sensed the disc was gonna curl back, and he played it perfectly.
Stubbs in his second year. Long-time Ironside player, took some time off prior to last season. I don't know if taking time off is hiking over 2,600 miles, but it's time off from the sport of ultimate.
From ultimate. A grueling trek he did with his then girlfriend, fiance, now wife, Emma. They moved out to the Bay Area after completing that hike of the Pacific Coast Trail, and they now live on a houseboat just north of San Francisco.
He felt he needed that break away from the sport. We hear a lot of athletes mention that, just a 12-month absence just to get that fire back inside the bellies. Sockeye working along the near side. This is Freechild right in front of us.
Eli Friedman played at Oregon, like Freechild went at Callahan at Oregon, matching up. Two Oregon Callahan award winners going head-to-head here in the U.S. Open final.
Montague somehow with that soft flick was able to get it to his guy. Sockeye looking for the cut, coming to it near the goal line, inside the red zone. Philip Murray looking. Just shy of the end zone. This is Karlinski, and let's see what we have, a pick called downfield. One thing we want to mention, Philip Murray wearing number 9, that's Sam Harkness's jersey, so you'll see the letters H-A-R-K-N-E-S-S on the back of Philip Murray.
There's a good example.
There it is.
Early in the season, they messed up the jersey sizes, so Phil traded, and well, that's a quick hold. Wouldn't say easy hold because Revolver made them work for it. Some tight windows they threw into, but Murray has the goal.
Murray is 8th year, 28-year-old, University of Washington product. Started playing his freshman year at Washington. He was familiar with the sport of ultimate because of his older brother, Elliot, played at North Carolina. Mentioned his idols were his brother, along with Joe Sefton.
Christian Johnson was almost there, but Harkness with the catch, and then Murray the score from Danny Karlinski. You know, if Sockeye is going to be great this year, they're going to need big seasons from Karlinski and, more importantly, Simon Montague. And we see Simon there as well. Montague is one of the most toolsy handlers in the sport. And there have been times when we've watched him play and think there's nothing he can't do. There's no one you'd rather want in the backfield. His decision-making can be a little loose at times. I don't think he would say he had his best season last year, but he's capable of piloting Sockeye to where they want to go.
Underneath, they settle on Joel Schlockett. Coming up with the mark is Donnie Clark. George Stubbs, already with a goal early in this first half, comes back to Schlockett in the center, right at midfield. Revolver sets up the offense.
Another Callahan on Callahan matchup, Dillon and Stubbs.
It is an all-star team. See the bid and the D by Sockeye. Beautiful play that time by Trent Dillon, the Callahan winner, showing his ability on that side of the disc.
We spent a lot of time marveling at the additions Revolver has made, but in 2 years, Sockeye has added the Dillons. Trent last year, Freechild this year. They had some good battles between Pittsburgh and Oregon. I remember the semis in 2013.
What's this
was talking with...
3, okay, we're good? Anytime you're ready.
Here's the turnover from Dillon, and he didn't really get the D. It was more of a drop from George. Nick Kazmarek, I asked him who's going to guard Dillon Freechild. He said Trent Dillon. Didn't know much about Trent at the time. He wasn't a star yet. He has become a star, although that throw he probably wants back. Was there a call, or is Donnie Clark just shaken up?
Clark went up high trying to sky that one, and he ended up flat on his back as Schlackett was in the area. Good D, though, by Schlackett, holding his ground. And a shot to the end zone comes up empty for Sockeye.
Ooh. You know, Donnie would have a case to call a foul if the disc wasn't uncatchable over his head there. But he realized he didn't have a play, even though he got hammered.
Higgins is going to launch deep downfield. And it's knocked away at the last second as Carnegie was able to get a hand in there, as it looked like Tom Doy had position.
Revolver did not have a single point yesterday where they turned it over twice. Got 4 turnovers in the first 4 points today. They had 5 the entire game against Bravo in the semis.
Pick called downfield as Duncan Lynn will restart it for Seattle Sockeye. First half, leading 2-1.
There's something about when these two teams get together. They know each other so well. There's a fierce competitive intensity between them. There's certainly respect. But more than any other team, I think, in Ultimate, this is the rivalry. And Sockeye wants to beat Revolver and vice versa.
Little give and go with Snell and Freechild. Freechild will keep that trend up, lobs it for Snell.
Oh,
tipped
goodness.
away. Oh, what a play. And then on the deflection, it's Carnegie at the back of the end zone. Oh, my.
Unbelievable. We've seen this from Carnegie before. The awareness to stay with the play. Ashlyn Joy thought he had the D, but it was Carnegie coming flying in out of nowhere. Horizontal happiness, and that's a break for Seattle.
Early nominee possibly for our Discraft play of the game later. What a grab by Hussein Carnegie, the second-year player.
What's interesting, though, Sean, is we've seen mistakes from so many great players so far. That throw from Dillon was not how he wanted it to go. We've seen Simon Higgins with the errant huck. We've seen George Stubbs with the drop. I don't know if it's nerves or just the fact that they know they have to be on their A games to beat this particular opponent, and that mentality gives you pressure. Sockeye, their lone pool play loss was the final game against Ring of Fire. It was a meaningless game for Sockeye in terms of winning the pool. It was not a meaningless game for Sockeye in terms of their regular season ranking. So it's not fair to just call it a totally meaningless game. By the way, it looks like it's starting to spit a little bit outside, a little drizzle.
Mentioned that Ring of Fire team. They were kind of a Jekyll and Hyde this week just because of travel issues. They did not have their full arsenal of players for the Friday opening round pool play. Those numbers improved on Saturday, and as a result, Ring of Fire played a lot better.
Yeah, it felt bad for Ring, honestly. They had half their team stuck in airports in the Midwest. They played Revolver on Friday morning with basically about half their team. Played them tough, 15-11. They were down 14-8 before going on a little bit of a run before Revolver closed it out.
Stubbs zips it over the center and a drop in heavy traffic, but that's a disc they catch 9 out of 10 times.
99 out of 100 times.
Another uncharacteristic mistake by Revolver, and Sockeye a chance for another break. Ian Houseman, one of the defensive players for Seattle, and it looks like a timeout has been taken. timeout in the action here in the first half. And Seattle trying to take full advantage of a sluggish, rusty start. I don't care how you want to classify it for Revolver, but these drops that we never see from this perennial power.
Yeah, Ashland Joy is another guy who is thought of as a longtime Revolver player because he is, but he did not play last year in the club division. He was a practice player. Revolver had Ashland Joy and Robbie Cahill as practice players, two of the greatest handlers of all time as practice players. That tells you the kind of depth in the Bay Area. But the San Francisco team, they are missing Grant Lindsley this weekend. This game, you could call it the Kasednar Cup. Chris Kasednar, who's played for Revolver last couple of years, played for Sockeye before that. He's back on Seattle's roster this year. He's got a pretty good excuse for not being here this weekend because Chris Kasednar got married last night, and his new wife, Hannah, an Ultimate player as well. Kasednar, a Carleton guy, so a lot of the Carleton contingent from these two teams not here. Revolver missing Grant Lindsley, Patrick Bayless, and Sam Canner, all attending the Kasednar wedding. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're tuning into this game. You got a few Revolver guys, certainly a Sockeye contingent at the wedding as well.
I could certainly see all of Kasednar's buddies, but I hope Chris isn't tuning in the day after his wedding. He probably is, though. Here's Sockeye after the timeout. Seattle leading 3-1. Inside the red zone, trying for another break in this first half, and a call made downfield with the pick, so this will be a restart. Sockeye in good position. It's going to be Houseman handling here for Seattle.
Say 2? Okay, thank you.
A mark coming from George Stubbs.
Revolver begins every game wanting to be perfect. They have been far from perfect in these first 5 points.
Into the end zone for another Sockeye score.
Matt Russell's really slippery, hard to guard, and he has gained great experience. He's just 24 in his 4th year on the team. He may have not played a ton of points in the games against Revolver his first couple of years in the system, but he has gradually gained confidence. And Sefton just squeezes it through. Gotta be honest, I did not see this coming. I would have believed 4-1 Revolver. Hard to believe 4-1 Sockeye when you consider Matt Rader is out and Jacob Janin is out.
Matt Russell, 2015 Callahan nominee for Western Washington. He was a cross-country runner in high school, really good Harrier. Discovered Ultimate his freshman year like so many of these athletes. Matt Rader certainly happy with the way his teammates have stepped up in this first half. A 4-1 lead for Sockeye. And Russell's latest goal, the recent break for Sockeye.
Asked Matt Rader before the game, what's been your favorite game you've ever played against Revolver? He's played a lot of them. He said, anytime we beat them. It's hard for him to watch his team play against San Francisco and for him not to be out there.
See if we can start to see some of this precision offense that Revolver displayed yesterday in the semifinal thrashing of Johnny Bravo.
They've certainly got the talent to do it.
Kittredge hammers it back to Schlockett. Here's Higgins with that low release, looking for Bo in the end zone. Easy scores. Kittredge hauls it in on the beautiful feed from Simon Higgins.
Bo Kittredge keeping possession alive with the over-the-top hammer to Schlockett, and then taking off. He had steps on Reed Koss, and I bet Reed would say that was a mistake, because if you're guarding Bo in that position behind him, when Bo has the depth, that's a pretty easy throw for Higgins. first turnover-free hold for Revolver.
Great bow Kittredge for Revolver, and this just gives you an idea of the type of depth that San Francisco has. We didn't talk a lot about Bo yesterday in the semis. You saw guys like Marcy step up, and of course Stubbs, and what Schlockett has been able to do, and Nick Stewart.
Well, Mike Payne, ever since Bo first joined this team, and he's now going into year 9, they talked about how they could use him as a role player in their system and not have to rely on him to be the go-to guy. And I think that was the sales pitch to Nick Stewart. I mean, you asked Mike Payne, what will Nick Stewart bring to the team? He said he's a good role player. And that's just like an absurd understatement, but it's also true.
It's the ultimate team concept. I mean, we see that in other sports. I think New England would be the football program that comes to mind. Revolver, very similar. Nobody's bigger than the game, yet they're filled with the most talented lineup. That's difficult to manage, I imagine, if you're Mike Payne.
You get talented players who really want to be a part of that culture. You're absolutely right. No one is bigger than the team.
This is Dillon. Soft backhand, avoiding the contact. Here's Seattle picking up the pace a little bit with that give and go action. And as they cut their way through the Revolver D, that was pretty. A score for Sockeye and Danny Karlinski.
Yeah, that was nice. The last 35 yards of this possession, it's like the Dylan Freechild influence. Now, I was asking Mike Payne before the game, what are the challenges of integrating Dylan Freechild into their system? And while Dylan wasn't involved in this play in particular, he said, well, we have to find the balance of his style and our style. And it's ironic because we used to be more like Dylan's style. We used to be more small ball. I think the small ball Seattle reputation over the past couple of years has been a little overplayed because they've developed more downfield athletes, more big throwers. But Freechild, one of the kings of the small ball, give and go, quick disc movement style, like we saw that time. And you know, Freechild has not had a ton of reps with this team. He's attended some practices, but he's been really busy with his professional obligations with the Dallas Roughnecks, also with Team USA. And because of that, he's still learning how to play with this team, but I think he's really enjoying it. It's a new challenge. He's developing well into this culture, and obviously he gives himself an athletic element that they haven't had in the past.
Sockeye back up 3. Here comes Revolver. Stewart, one of the downfield cutters, trying to make a move, but he's being denied the disc by Matt Russell. Stewart finally comes back to it, able to find an angle. Russell stays with him. He's given up a few inches in that matchup. They come back near side to Higgins, already with a couple of helpers in this game. He lines up George Stubbs. Picked up by Freechild. Into the center to Schlockett. Schlockett in force forehand side. Looking for the dump. Lobs it dangerously to his teammate. Now they get it upset to Simon Higgins. Higgins thought about the hammer. Zips it underneath the Schlockett. Schlockett reverse pivot. Right back near side to Joy. Ashlyn Joy, really tough around this part of the field. Gets it back into the center to Schlockett.
Great switch. Stubbs was coming across, and of course Revolver does the counter, moves it accurately. But Stubbs was coming wide open, and Sockeye recognized it, made the adjustment. Higgins still scored, but nice defensive awareness from Seattle in the end zone.
Good start for Simon Higgins. He's been involved in all 3 of Revolver's points in this first half.
Ashlyn Joy, still considered by most to be the best pure thrower in the world in the men's division. The thing was, a couple different guys poached anticipating that throw, and Revolver recognized, swinging it to Higgins. Mike Payne has talked a lot about Jordan Marcy and the development he has made as a player. say the same thing about Higgins, and I think that is what Mike Payne and the long-time Revolver players are most proud of. Bringing in rookies that have some talent and refining them into this particular system to excel.
And can you imagine the influence a young rookie would have the potential to get from this lineup as a young ultimate player and a chance to play and learn from some of the greats? Incredible opportunity, and Marcy's one of those guys who has taken full advantage of it in his 5th year. 5-3 Sockeye leading in this first half.
A guy like Nathan White is almost an afterthought, and he's one of the most feared marks in the sport. That lanky reach, the athleticism to really be a tough handler defender.
There's a shot downfield looking for Trent Dillon. He'll go up, haul it in, yard away from the end zone.
And he saw no one with him, so he takes the quick timeout.
Timeout, Sockeye. Dillon explaining his case to some of his teammates. Are you surprised to see the quick TO there from him?
Yeah, it's not my favorite play. I think Nate White deserves credit for Karlinski not being able to get the reset to Montague. And almost as if Dillon had to explain himself.
Yeah.
Like as soon as he took it, he had this look on his face like, uh-oh, someone's not going to be happy with me. This was the pool play showdown. Revolver took half, 8-6, but obviously a great second half from Sockeye. It was 15-14 Revolver. Sockeye held to tie it up at 15s and then broke twice. One of those points, Phil Murray, I believe, had a hand block of Joel Schlockett right around the goal line. And then I think the game ended with a Dillon to Dillon shot. Trent Dillon shooting it deep to Dylan Freechild for the win. It's a very exciting game, well played. Really cool moment after the game, post-game spirit circle, where George Stubbs and Mario O'Brien both talked about how cool it was that they played the game the right way, without observers, and there were tons of kids around the field, a lot of folks from the YCC divisions watching. The people that, in Mario O'Brien's words, hey, those kids want to be like us. And we put on a really good show for them. And Seattle continues to make good decisions around the end zone. Dillon to Dillon. It's really hard to stop.
2016 Callahan winner. Trent Dillon has guided Pittsburgh to 2 college titles, 5 years. Started playing U when he was just 8 years old. First goal today. Second year with Seattle, and lethal combination with Dylan Freechild. You get those two guys in space, their cut ability like we just saw right in front of the goal line. It is nearly impossible to top.
Trent Dillon assuming more leadership responsibilities in year 2 with Seattle Sockeye. He's a captain this year. Certainly a Pittsburgh flavor to the Seattle leadership group with both Dillon and Julian Hausman. Reed Kost and Simon Montague are the other captains.
The pull by Snell in Seattle. Good deep pull, 10 yards into the end zone. This will be Schlockett for the Revolver offense. Swings it over to Jordan Marcy. Up ahead, out of the zone, they push.
Shout out to Mitch Kolzak for sprinting down on the pull and impacting Revolver's early flow. Kolzak again right in Schlockett's pocket.
Nearly coming up with the D on the bid attempt. Schlockett sees an opportunity. He will launch. Stewart cannot get to it. He had Clark beat, but the throw offline and a turnover by Revolver.
I'm not sure Schlockett would agree with me, but I give Kolzak credit for this throw. Not enough float, hard to overthrow Nick Stewart, but Kolzak's pressure certainly involved.
Kolzak's another first-year guy joining this Sockeye program in the Pacific Northwest. Ben Snell. This quick passing game, lobbied it for Mario O'Brien, but there's the hand and the D by Revolver. Good defense that time by Tom Doy.
Wondered if O'Brien would call a foul. Doy kind of went over his shoulder a little bit, but no call. Athletic play from Doy.
Kittredge, the fore side to Schlockett. Old Schlockett, some space in that give and go, and this will be a Revolver score as he hits Doy. Doy cut right to that front corner of the end zone, and they were not ready for it. Easy throw and catch, and Revolver back within 2.
Yeah, bookends for Doy. Longtime Washington, D.C. player. You know, Tom Doy's not the guy who was playing Ultimate at a high level as a kid. He wasn't coached when he was young. He was playing at Green Mountain College in, I believe, Vermont. Tiny school, barely won a game at college sectionals. And yet he's a guy who has made himself into a star. Member of the USA team in London last year. I mean, we really should refer to the players on these two teams that weren't on the national team in London, because it feels like the majority were, like Joel Schlockett, who led that team in goals. You know, you see the international world championship tournaments. You get to see that at the US Open as well. And I was thinking about this last night, Sean. I appreciate the international nature of this tournament so much more after having attended a world championship, because we are very US-centric, and USA has consistently been the kings of the Ultimate world, and they still are. Kings, queens, royalty, USA Ultimate. But the international scene has learned from the United States. They have developed, and to see what the Japanese teams did here this weekend, it's so hard to travel across half of a continent and be at your best. It's hard to travel at all and be at your best, but to adjust to the jet lag, and inevitably some players can't make the trip, and it just wears on you. And from what we've seen from the Colombian women, teams from Japan, even the men's teams like Clapham from Great Britain and the team from Italy, Inside Raquete from Germany, they didn't get a lot of wins, but they were very competitive. I mean, this tournament started inauspiciously for Seattle, and they fell behind by 3 to the team from Italy. And it was like, what's going on here? Seattle was a little shaky, but Italy took advantage, and it was a very exciting game early Friday morning.
Where the international teams have made the most impact, at least at this particular leg of the Triple Crown, a few years ago with Ellipsis in the mixed division. You mentioned Revolution with Colombia, who we'll see later today. They haven't quite yet cut it into the men's side of it as far as getting to that upper echelon. Deep shot for Freechild. He's there. He'll make the grab with the right hand. And Freechild immediately with one huck inside the red zone for Sockeye. Danny Karlinski right back to Freechild. Sends it across the way to Sam Harkness. Harkness looking for that around shot. There was some contact. Let's see if a foul was called here. Discussion with, that's Dahlman and Harkness, and did Dahlman get a piece of him as he went with that around maneuver?
Harkness certainly tried to create the contact here and throw through the contact. Dahlman's like, I was just standing here, you came into me.
All right, is this a foul? It's here. Observer tested.
The observer says foul. Lucas Dahlman can't believe it. His facial expression shows that. So Sockeye keeps possession.
A little surprised Dahlman didn't go to the observer.
Harkness into the end zone. Boy, touch pass. That quick passing attack by Seattle. And Harkness has a goal. Sockeye stubborn. They get another hole. Tight window of opportunity, and he squeezed it in.
Harkness is a guy who has earned a lot of trust from his teammates. You're wondering who's the leading goal scorer for Seattle Sockeye at the US Open? It's not Matt Rader or Dylan Freechild or Trent Dillon. It's Sam Harkness. We have had 6 turnover-free points in this first half. 4 of them have been from Sockeye.
I'll remind our audience again, Harkness and Murray have switched jerseys, so you see Harkness wearing Murray's number and vice versa with Murray and Harkness. That is Sam Harkness with the goal, and Seattle with a 7-4 lead as we inch closer to halftime. Trent Dillon with the pull. So be Marcy on the receive, still working in the end zone for Revolver. Some space to work in the center now for San Francisco. Marcelo Sanchez gets it back to Marcy. Marcy on the backhand. It's Sanchez who goes down on 2 knees. Here comes Kittredge into the party. Work on that far side. Dillon the mark. And a hound George Stubbs. Stubbs dumps it back to Marcy. They'll look for that swing. Fairchild nearly got his hand on it. And now an opportunity deep downfield for Revolver. This is Higgins, and he will catch it for the score.
A lot going on this particular point. Freechild was very close, but Doy plucked it with that left paw and then unleashed a beautiful flick huck for Higgins. That's just a gorgeous toss. I mean, you don't see who's throwing that, you just see the disc in the air, and you're like, Ashland threw that, right? That was picture perfect.
Simon Higgins having himself quite a championship first half. Couple of goals, 2 assists, a beautiful pass by Tom Doy. And Revolver, because of a sloppy start, having to play catch-up here in this first half, trail by 2.
Sockeye can play smooth offense the rest of the way. They'll win this thing. Remember, Seattle beat San Francisco in the U.S. Open last year, the semifinals in Rhode Island. And then it was Chicago Machine that knocked off Sockeye in the finals. Machine was great.
San Francisco mixing up their defensive look a little bit. Sockeye making the necessary adjustments. Dylan Freechild. They go back to that man look. Freechild lobs it up the near sideline. Now a low release huck downfield. This is going to be way too far out in front as they tried to hit a streaking Dillon. And Sockeye with a turnover, break opportunity for Revolver.
Playing smooth offense, easier said than done against the Revolver pressure with multiple D-lines to throw at an opponent. By the way, this is the early season rubber match this year. Revolver did beat Sockeye 13-11 at the Pro Elite Challenge in Colorado, July 9th.
Backhand huck deep downfield looking for Gregory Cohen, and he will chase it down for the score. Cohen, one of the emotional leaders for Revolver. He's so intense. And that time streaking right down the center of the secondary, and Revolver gets the break.
Couldn't have said it better, Sean. He is an emotional fulcrum for this team. And when he has a chance to squeeze a goal for a break, he makes sure everybody knows it. Russell Wynn, another Team USA superstar, connecting with Cohen, who's now in his 4th year on this team, part of that rookie class with Simon Higgins, Lucas Dahlman. Lucas Dahlman was 13, Cohen and Higgins for 2014. Eli Kearns joining the team in 2014 as well.
Cohen was a really good baseball player in high school. In fact, he had a chance to play college baseball, but he said the sport was too selfish. He fell in love with Ultimate, loved the team concept. We were talking about how that's what Mike Payne does with this Revolver program, and you talk about the epitome of unselfish. That's kind of been this Revolver team, and you know, a guy like Cohen who had a chance to play high-level college baseball, it says a little bit about his character and what he values.
And it's hard to believe, but he was a left-handed pitcher.
Isn't that something?
Doesn't play ultimate lefty.
Sockeye, chance to go up 2 at the intermission if they can take care of business on the offensive end. Freechild with some room. Now it closes in as the mark approaches from Eli Friedman. Freechild goes back to Montague. Far sideline, this is Rankin. Cutting underneath on the route is Joe Sefton. Sefton stays on that side. Freechild had to make a mid-air adjustment, able to save it. Sockeye approaching the red zone again, looking for that halftime. Inside break is there, and now the Freechild in the end zone, and it's Sockeye, despite a number of injuries, leading Revolver here at the intermission. Dylan Freechild with the score, 8-6 Seattle.
Seattle up by 2 at the half. They're up by just 1 break at the break. Revolver will receive to start the second half. But Freechild, again, showing off his speed in small spaces. And B.J. Sefton, a very capable mid to get the disc to Dylan Freechild. A lot of folks don't know he's a triplet. His brothers Devin and Dustin. He's one of 11 kids. His mom has 6 of them. And the 3 older kids of his mother's all got to name one of the triplets. Devin, Dustin, and Dylan. All begin with a D and end with an N, and all have different vowels in the middle.
Seattle certainly happy with the vowels of Dylan Freechild. He has put on a show in this first half. Mario O'Brien joins us from Seattle Sockeye. And first off, Mario, entertaining first half. We saw some mistakes early by Revolver that you were able to capitalize. What was the strategy coming in to try to create those breaks?
Hey, the strategy is we know these guys well. We know what they like to do and shut down those first options and make them go to their secondary options. And hopefully we get some turns out of that, and we did.
Mario, obviously you guys have responded well to adversity on the injury front. What has that been like, seeing teammates go down and continuing to push?
You know, it's a huge mental challenge. Matt's one of our best friends, first and foremost, and when a guy like that goes down, it affects everyone, and we're looking at it as something that we have to rise to, you know, next man up, and just continue doing the work like we know how to do, and just keep grinding.
Mario, you are uniquely qualified to talk about Seattle gaining a player from Portland. What was it like to find out that Dylan Freechild and Jacob Janum were going to make the move up and join you guys this season?
I love those guys. I got a chance to play with them down in Portland, and you know, I came up to Seattle just wanting to be surrounded by people that you know, wanted to push themselves as hard as they can, and that's who Dylan and Jacob are, and we're excited to have those guys. And they clearly bring something to our team that we need, and they're fitting right in, and we love them.
Mario, as we look ahead to the second half, as you try to maintain this lead, what adjustment, if any, do you feel that Roger Crafts will be looking to make in this second half?
Roger's going to say something like, you know, just stop thinking. He's going to say, don't see anything about the stadium. He's going to say, just focus on each other, stick to the plan, buy in.
Been a great ambassador for the sport, Mario. We appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Mario O'Brien and Seattle Sockeye. Stunning Revolver right now at the intermission. Sockeye with an 8-6 lead in the championship of the U.S. Open. the second time in less than 48 hours this weekend in Blaine, Minnesota. Seattle Sockeye leads Revolver at the intermission 8-6 in the men's final of the 2017 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships. A lot of concern coming in to this matchup because of the injuries for Seattle, but they were able, Evan, to take advantage of some uncharacteristic mistakes by Revolver, and let's give Sockeye credit. They were able to take full advantage and exploit those.
They capitalized. Seattle did. They made some plays, but I really was kind of disappointed with the way Revolver came out in this game. I mean, they had as many turnovers in the first 5 points in this particular game as they did in the entire semifinal game yesterday.
Sockeye by 2 at the intermission. We'll have more from Blaine in the National Sports Center after this. First of 3 championships, the first leg of the Triple Crown Tour. What's the Twitter world saying at this one?
Don't worry about it. No, it's nothing about you. It's all people are questioning my saying that this is the best rivalry in the sport. I would stand by it for the past 5 years, but whatever. Everybody thinks it's fine. Shouldn't say it doesn't bother me. It doesn't impact me.
But it bugs you.
I just think it's annoying that everybody knows everything.
That's why I never check mine during the.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing too notable. Nothing blowing up, really, which is a good thing. Also, probably most of the Ultimate World that we'll be watching is here, playing, coaching, youth, etc. So. I still think Revolver's going to win this game.
Yeah, I do too. Seattle Sockeye out in front of San Francisco Revolver, 8-6 of the intermission of this men's final. And Evan, you look back at the first half highlights and mistakes by Revolver early opening up the door for Sockeye.
Yeah, that was a break opportunity in the very first point of the game. They couldn't convert. And then their initial low point, they overshoot Bo out of the end zone. And then Seattle Sockeye kind of just seized the lead. Dylan Freechild, remember the one mistake he had, Hussein Carnegie saved the day. Simon Montague, a pretty big first half. Here's the play we're talking about. Snell couldn't get there. Ashland Choi went up for what he thought was the D, but Carnegie came flying from the middle of the field for the score. And here's Montague giving and going his way to the end zone to find Danny Karlinski. Seattle handlers did a pretty good job this game, staying within themselves in the first half. You know, it's always rare to see Revolver make mistakes. With that said, they do have 2 first-year players on their O-line, and Nick Stewart and Tom Doy. Ashland Joy didn't play in the O-line last year as well, but Dylan Freechild not having too many growing pains with Seattle Sockeye. They've won every game that's mattered so far this weekend, and they've got a 2-point lead at the half in the title game.
So if you would, please make your way to your car. You don't have a car, find a new place.
Sockeye with an 8-6 lead here at the intermission. See some ominous skies off in the background as well. So weather moving in, and we just heard the horn and the announcement. There is a weather delay here in Blaine. You can see the ominous looking skies just off the backdrop there, and apparently some weather moving into the area. So we are in a delay here in this men's final at halftime. 8-6, Sockeye with the lead over Revolver. Welcome back to Blaine, Minnesota. Unfortunately, we mentioned it earlier when we started the day that weather might impact us, and it has here in Minnesota. Weather delay, a half-hour delay. So for our ESPN3 audience, we invite you to come back in a half hour right at 2 o'clock, and we will provide an update as to whether the weather is getting on out of this Blaine, Minnesota area. But right now, a half-hour weather delay in the men's final. Seattle Sockeye leading Revolver 8-6. We'll be back in 30 minutes with more of the men's championship. Welcome back to Blaine, Minnesota. It's the men's final of the 2017 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships, and after a half-hour weather delay, some lightning in the area. We did not get a lot of rain, a few sprinkles, but the good news is not a lot of rain through the fast-moving and small storm cell that just clip the area, and some lightning. Anytime there's lightning in the area, you go automatically into that weather delay. So we're going to resume action in about 5 minutes around 2:05 local time. Revolver trailing Sockeye 8-6 at the intermission, alongside Evan Lepler, Sean Kinney with you. And Evan, that first half, as we look back, mistakes early by Revolver, and it was Sockeye who was able to take advantage of the rare mistakes, some drops that we just don't see from this power program.
Yeah, it was a bizarre start for Revolver. They really didn't play anywhere close to their best in the first half. Frankly, they're fortunate to be within 2. The fact that they are so close makes me nervous for Sockeye, because Revolver is going to find their groove, you would think. But credit goes to Seattle. Simon Montague didn't make any plays that made you say, wow, but he was very solid. This is the wow play of the half, though. Carnegie bidding off the deflection from Johnson. Tremendous athleticism from Hussein Carnegie, and just doing the little things here. Montague's so tough to top because of his size and his length and his wingspan. Denny Karlinski involved as well. It's been cool to see Russell Wynn take a leadership role throughout his career, and that shot going deep to Greg Cohen was a real nice put. But again, Montague just calmly orchestrating things. Dylan Freechild is a butt man that he hasn't necessarily had in the past. 8 different goal scorers for Seattle Sockeye. Sefton, again, not doing anything that makes you say, wow, but subtly he's got 3 assists, doing everything right.
Simon Higgins keeping Revolver in it. He is responsible for 4 of the 6 Revolver points in that first half. Sockeye leading San Francisco 8-6. Weather moving on out. Sun trying to break back through. Revolver will be trying to break back in to this action. They'll have the opening poll when we come back. Welcome back. It's the championship of the men's division, the 2017 U.S. Open. Mike Payne joins us, the head coach with San Francisco Revolver. I think a very relaxed Mike Payne, it sounds like, after the past half hour. How have you guys killed the time during this weather delay?
We were making jokes and listening to the soundtrack from Moana.
This is like the 3rd or 4th time you guys have listened to the soundtrack this weekend, and that's totally cool. I would listen to the Frozen soundtrack nonstop for years. Your thoughts on the way you guys came out of the gate? You had the really great chance, you didn't capitalize, and then there was some shakiness that personally I don't usually expect to see from your squad.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit too focused on the offensive side on trying to jam the disc up the open side, and we didn't really see the break side as well as we usually do, and I think that's because Sockeye does a really good job of throwing poachers out in the lane that kind of move back and forth. But I think we dialed it in towards the end of that half, and we talked about it at halftime as well. And then on defense, we just didn't come out with the intensity that we needed, and that ramped up towards the end of the half. So we're feeling like we have the momentum going into the second.
How do you keep that intensity where it was at the end of the half through that long break that you guys just endured with a weather delay?
I think it's all about mental framing. At the end of the day, you know, we have one half of Ultimate, probably a couple games to 3 to play, a few, hopefully for us. And, you know, that becomes a bite-sized mental exercise for our team. So we're very focused on playing 3 good games to 3 and winning those 3 games, and that'll take us to the championship.
I know you always talk about consistency with your team in these early tournaments. You thought you turned in your best performance yesterday in the semifinal win against Johnny Bravo. What's the biggest area of consistency you want to see your team improve on in this second half?
I have to say it's on the defensive side, and I think it's about intensity on the mark. These guys on Sockeye, especially their handlers, are doing a really good job of moving the disc around and hitting what we're giving them, and we're not making it hard enough on them with the marks. So I think consistently unpredictable marks is what I would say.
All right, Coach, good luck in the second half.
Thanks, guys.
San Francisco Revolver down 2 as the teams get loose after the half-hour delay. We'll be back with the second half poll. It's Sockeye by 2 in the title of the men's championship at the U.S. Open. Alongside Evan Lepler, Sean Kinney back with you, our entire fantastic ESPN crew. It's the third and final day of the international competition. The youth continues through the early week through tomorrow, but we wrap everything up today. Starting with this men's championship, the second half, moments away. It will be Revolver receiving the pole. And after 40 minutes of idle time, we begin half number 2. Sockeye with an 8-6 lead.
Be interesting to see how both teams come out of the gate. It almost feels like the start of a new game.
Free Child very close again to getting a hand on the D. Revolver quickly working it up ahead. This is Cassidy Rasmussen with that hammer way downfield. Wide open Schlockett for the score. Joy with the hammer. Excuse me, not Rasmussen. That was an Ashland Joy throw. Easy haul in by Schlockett.
Yeah, Schlockett was calling for it. Freechild tried to get the switch. Carnegie did not adjust. And that's why Joel Schlockett is open by 30 yards. Just a miscommunication. 2 guys who haven't played together a ton. The type of thing that should be corrected as the season goes on, but that's a mistake to give Joy the free shot. He holstered it initially, thinking that perhaps he wasn't seeing something, because no way could Schlockett be that open, but one quick scan later, and he's got that over-the-top shot.
Schlockett's been a part of all 4 national championships with Revolver, part of the World Games title in 2016 as well. Ashland Joy hooking up with Schlockett, and well, your question gets answered about 35 seconds into the second half. How would they respond after the downtime? And it's a quick strike by Revolver. Let's see if Sockeye can counter.
Byron Liu will hassle Karlinski. White staying with Montague. Rasmussen on Freechild. A great cut by Murray. He almost made Spear fall over.
Bid attempt comes up just short by Cohen. Sockeye into the red zone with Trent Dillon along the far side. Dillon dumps it back to Montague. Simon Montague. There's some room, dumps it right back to Dillon. Dillon, the orchestrator, goes back to Montague. Quick cut then by Dillon. Continuing to be followed by Eli Kearns. Side-to-side movement here by Sockeye.
Nice throw.
Dillon gets rid of it quickly, safely to Murray. Murray flicks it opposite side. Can they get a toe drag in? They do for the score. It's Rankin able to get that left foot in. Beautifully done, and the counter by Seattle.
Another turnover free hold, and Zane Rankin, not a guy we've talked a lot about today, but another dynamic downfield threat. If this was catchable, he was going to catch it. It's as simple as that. He's capable of the athletic Sky, but sure-handed as well near the goal line. Of course, Rankin played his college ultimate in the Bay Area. Now moving up to Seattle for grad school.
His 10th goal of the tournament. That is a team high for Sockeye. Phil Murray gets the assist. So 9-7 lead to start the second half. Both teams get an early hole.
Rankin played undergrad at Cal and now at UW, originally from Austin, Texas.
So the free child with the pull.
Marcy, Schlockett, Joy, Stewart, Doy, Higgins, and Stubbs.
They thought about launching deep. They stall Ken out, they settle for Higgins. Higgins picked up by Carnegie. They come near side to George Stubbs. Stubbs will launch, looking for Schlockett downfield. Schlockett goes up and makes the catch right in front of the goal line, and they cap it off to Marcy for the score.
What makes Joel Schlockett so great? More than anything, more than the throws, more than the athleticism, it's the instincts on display right here. He adjusted, Murray did not, and Schlockett goes over the top of his defender for the Sky on a throw from Stubbs that was pretty loose. Schlockett wasn't really open. Didn't put it as far as he could have, but goodness, Joel Schlockett, he's just a gamer. That intangible, unquantifiable instinct. You want him on your team.
Great balance, great precision. It's black belt in Taekwondo, showing some of that agility right there going up. Beautiful snag by Schlockett. 1 goal, a couple of assists today, and Revolver 2 for 2 in the second half on their offensive possessions.
And Joel's a guy who doesn't want the credit. He doesn't want to do the post-game interview. He says himself he wasn't an athlete in high school. He did Taekwondo, but he found ultimate in college at Cal, played for Yokawa Oka. And it's incredible the development he's had in this Revolver system over the past decade.
Mike Payne told us at halftime he wanted some tighter marks, aggressive on the marks, and we're seeing that from Revolver. White with that long frame, leading the way defensively for San Francisco. Now they're going to take a shot. Here's the huck into the end zone, and it will be tipped away at the last second.
And missed opportunity. Rankin was there, could not come down with it. Chance to get back on serve here in the second half.
And Cox in the vicinity of that last D for Revolver. Let's see what this D-line can do for San Francisco. Dahlman's going to take a shot. He whips it down for the equalizer. Out of the hands, incomplete.
Wow.
Trent Dillon in the nick of time, showing his Callahan-like ability.
I mean, it's a tremendous effort from Dillon, but Christian Johnson has to make this catch. He's right there, just a little too casual. Attack that disc. He didn't think probably that Dillon would get that close. Huge missed opportunity.
Sefton, free child. Child looking for some movement. Dangerous pass is corralled by Sockeye. They get it back to Sefton. Working that four side. Now they get the inside break to Dillon. He'll turn and face the D. Works it over to Danny Karlinski. Across the way to Harkness. Montague. Down on. Forced to cork it up. Corralled by Montague. He'll try the hammer across the field. Oh, and a drop by Sockeye. So a couple of drops in the end zones, one each way.
The twists and turns of another chapter in Revolver Sockeye. That was a Montague throw. He saw it all the way, and Sefton missed the chance. Friedman rips it.
Looking for Kevin Cox, and he will casually go up and bring it in for the score. And Revolver ties it up at 9.
Kevin Cox had 3 goals in the semifinal win against Bravo, all playing defense. And that's a pretty put from Eli Friedman, who Mike Payne has said is probably in their top 7. He'd be on a universe point line depending on the situation. That's the regard they have for him, and Cox has just continued to develop as well since coming to play for Revolver. Friedman and Doy both living in Los Angeles. They've often traveled together to the Bay Area for practices. Not a short drive, but it shows the commitment. And we're on serve. Obviously, San Francisco would need one more break to win. It was interesting, Sean, they didn't have Bo Kittredge on the last O-line, which didn't really raise any eyebrows. Bo takes one every now and then. But after they scored and they needed a break, they added Bo in on D. And you don't see Bo play a lot of D when his team's ahead. But when his team's behind, they'll try to steal points with Bo because he's still got great athleticism and instincts. And another offsides call. This one going against Revolver. D-line of Kearns, Friedman, Cohen, Davis, Rasmussen, Spear, and Wynn. Obviously, Eli Kearns has changed his role considerably from last year to this year when they didn't have Ashlyn Joy. George Stubbs is in his first year on the team, making his return to Ultimate from a year off. George was one of the kings of the D-line, and hence Eli Kearns was put into the offensive role of that Ashlyn Joy's inhabited for much of his career. And you know, it worked out well enough to get them to Universe Point in the championship game, but it still feels like this is where Kearns belongs. Putting on strong marks, getting down there, and then being more of a confident gunslinger after return.
Low throw, and look at the bid there by Dillon to save possession. Trent Dillon with his athleticism saving this possession for Sockeye. Mario O'Brien works it to the center. A couple of options to choose. They settle underneath with Dillon.
Well-timed poach by Kearns to prevent the easy reset.
Into the red zone and into the end zone. The free child for the score. 10-9 Seattle. Only fitting, Evan, that it was Freechild who ends up with the goal.
Possession kept alive by a different Dillon. Trent Dillon has just developed the skill to make really difficult plays feel routine. I mean, that's the type of catch that it's not easy. You make that catch as a player, most people would feel amazing. Like, that's one of the best catches I've ever made. For Trent Dillon, he expects to make that spectacular play, and they pay it off to Dylan Freechild. Montague involved again in the offensive attack.
Blue card was issued, Evan. I saw the Observer come over to San Francisco just a few moments ago, so something happened in there, but the blue card issued, I couldn't tell who in particular, but the Observer coming over with the clear indication. So Revolver down 10-9 as they look to hold.
I didn't notice anything.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Over aggressive about San Francisco's marks, but I'd say the most common way that Revolver will get a TMF, team misconduct foul, is for having over-aggressive marks. They're a team that likes to walk that fine line of being super aggressive, and we heard Mike Payne talk about it, how important the marks were going to be here in the second half. Stewart, Sanchez, Stubbs, Joy, Higgins, Doy, and Marcy.
Are you surprised no Kittredge again?
Certainly not shocked. I mean, it's not like this line lacks firepower. What'll be interesting to see is, would Bo be out there in a potential universe point situation? I think the answer is yes. I think he's still held in that regard. But not certain.
Excellent pull by Sockeye as Revolver goes to work. Marcy in his own end zone. Inside, able to get it past a diving Sockeye player into the hands of Nick Stewart.
Oh, Sefton making it really tough to get that reset back to Joy.
Sefton on the mark of Joy. Zips a pass up the head to Stewart. Stewart cranks away deep downfield, and the pit attempt comes up just short by Marcy.
Not the combination we're used to seeing, Stewart hucking to Marcy. And yet I don't think it was a bad decision, because Marcy had 10 yards. He was calling for it, and Stewart has that throw. Could have used just another half second of float.
Break opportunity for Seattle Sockeye. Trent Dillon. Forced to that forehand. He'll settle that way. Nearly a collision, but it's corralled by Seattle as they look to go inside and get the swing. Dillon barking out traffic. He's going to fire deep downfield, looking for Chen, and he will make the catch for the score. A third-year player from Pullman hauls it in, and Sockeye gets the break.
Nice throw from Trent Dillon. And D.Y. Chen, he's become one of my favorite players over the last couple of years. Super athletic. He's got speed and quickness, and he's got a sense of the moment. He played great for the University of Washington Sun Dodgers at College Nationals this past Memorial Day weekend. And a lot like some other younger players like Matt Russell, for example, Chen has gradually earned more responsibility over these past couple of years. The development he has made as a player, just practicing with this team, I mean, that is invaluable experience. That's a huge break for Seattle Sockeye.
San Francisco able to battle back, tie it up, but Sockeye gets the break and now lead by 2 in this second half.
Sean, I'm not a huge win probability percentage guy, but that break right there dramatically enhances Sockeye's chances of winning this game. If it was 50-50 at 10-9, I'd say it's at least 75-25, if not 80-20 right now, with the way Seattle's played offense so far. Of course, win probability didn't mean much to the Cleveland Cavaliers when they trailed 3-1, or the Chicago Cubs when they trailed 3-1, or the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots. So take that all for what it's worth.
Zone look by Sockeye. They'll take a shot downfield, and there was nothing but red that time. Read out beautifully by Hussein Carnegie. Carnegie coaching back for Seattle, and Sockeye gets it on another turnover. Little momentum here for the red. Freechild sends it over right side.
Freechild could have hucked it there.
He thought about it.
But he has become much more patient. And there he could have gone to Carnegie deep. He goes under to Russell.
Russell stays as they drape the far sideline. Back to Freechild, makes a nice catch with the left hand, comes back with the around. Hauling it in is Duncan Lynn.
The extension, angle, and rotation on that last break throw from Freechild is a great example of how he has improved his game. And he calls the quick timeout.
Yep, timeout taken by Seattle. You can see the energy. Just look at the body language for Sockeye. They're feeling confident, feeling good. Just take a look at these throws. See the catch initially by Freechild. Now look at the extension you're talking about.
And it was an active mark by Schlockett. He got the foot out there. And Dylan Freechild and Jimmy Mickle are two of the throwers in this sport that are able to throw air bounces with a control and precision that certainly I couldn't do. I think a lot of air bounces are discouraged when you're coaching young players because they have a propensity to fly high. And the way he commands his throws, I mean, it's like a pitcher. It's like watching Chris Sale or Clayton Kershaw command their pitches. And over again, he puts it exactly where he wants it to go with a spin and rotation that is really elite.
Freechild on the trigger, stack lined up for Seattle Sockeye.
Bo Kittredge will take the Freechild matchup here out of the timeout.
First initial cut is made by Sam Harkness. He is covered, so they come near sideline to Duncan Lynn. Kittredge trying to chase Freechild, and a pick is called.
Fair call. Stahl coming in at 6. It's another one. Bo and Dylan, teammates in London last year, Poland this year.
I thought the throw was out of his hands before Joel came and did. Are you guys going to just play 6 or are we coming back? Okay, it was a pick, but you were not going to get to the disc, so it's going to be Dylan's disc over here. Go ahead and catch up your relative. Yep.
Mitch Dengler, one of the best observers in the world, if not the best. He's observed his 700th game of his observing career this weekend. With all that said, I don't like him saying Bo Kittredge was not going to get that disc. This is the greatest athlete all time in the sport. I don't think he was going to get it either, but I don't think it's the observer's place to make that assumption. I would have kept it with Duncan Lynn.
A call was made, so this is coming back. Call was made a good 10, 15 seconds ago, so play getting bogged down a little bit. 3 picks. Conversation here with Harkness and Tom Doy.
It's your disc at 1. You know that. Come on. Where you were when he caught it.
That's such a Reed Koss line. Hey, we scored. Trying to buy one.
Take him any way you can get him here in the championship of the U.S. Open.
Mitch couldn't even correct him with a straight face.
No, he had the chuckle in there. Matt Russell. Over to Sam Hart, right back to Russell. Soft flick, leading Koss, and he has it for the score. A little bit of touch on that throw. Koss had time to catch up with it. And Sockeye with a 3-point lead here in this second half. Holy cow.
The turnover was a while ago, but it was just another deep shot that was into traffic, easily got D'd. And Sockeye, after all the picks, nice touch on the throw, and there was no doubt Koss was running this down. Great finesse on that put from Russell. The Dirt Duo. Western Washington proud, Reed Koss and Matt Russell.
First goal today for Koss. One of the team captains, 33-year-old for Seattle Sockeye. And Evan, you thought they were sitting pretty solidly here a couple of minutes ago, now leading by 3. The prediction looks pretty good from a few moments ago.
It feels 85-15 right now for Sockeye, maybe even more. Back-to-back breaks with Revolver trying to tie it at 10s. It's hard to play your best game back-to-back games. Revolver might have played its best game of the tournament yesterday. Through the first 21 points today, they haven't been close to what they were yesterday.
Higgins looking for Marcy, 50-50, and it's up and snagged away with the D by Sockeye.
I think Simon Higgins is going to go back and watch the film from this weekend and want a bunch of his throws back. Nick Stewart bailed him out in a couple yesterday, but this is one, not a great matchup to go after. And an easy D for Marcy, for Russell on Marcy.
Here's the huck downfield into the end zone, and it's all Sockeye now. Seattle with a 13-9 lead as Ben Snell jumps up in jubilation. All smiles, even for the injured Matt Rader. What a showing, what a statement, maybe even more importantly, being put forth by Sockeye.
Absolutely. A big backhand bluff, and just now Snell's beginning his deep cut. He's waiting for it. Ashland Joy never really turned on the jets. By the time he tried, it was way too late. Mario O'Brien. He's been firing silky flick hucks for a long time. Ben Snell going against one of his old college teammates, Christian Johnson, in this game. Joke with Ben before the game, I said I expect at least 3 skies of Christian from you. He said, well, it'll be tough because we're both playing defense. But that's a moment for Snell, who had an injury that prevented him from making the Seattle Sockeye team last year. And there were a bunch of great players cut from Seattle Sockeye last year. Every team has good players that get cut. But the determination of Snell to get back to his heyday. I mean, we remember Jonathan Nethercutt from North Carolina's championship. Ben Snell is perhaps not remembered as vividly because he was more of a defensive guy, but Snell played amazing when Darkside won it all.
2015, the year North Carolina brought home a national title. As Evan mentioned, Snell off to that great start in 2014.
There goes Bo, and Flockett looked him off.
Marcy still looking deep. Joy over to Marcy. They rotate it far side. Kittredge circling, trying to get his position, trying to get some type of freedom from Carnegie, who continues to shadow Bo. Now a low release shot. Stewart won't get to this one.
Nope. This is unraveling for Revolver. George Stubbs just not willing to be patient, continue to work it down.
Backhand deep huck, wide open, and another one for Seattle. Duncan Lynn spikes it down with authority. And you talk about a freight train right now. Seattle Sockeye putting it to Revolver.
And you know what? Thinking about the conversation after this weekend, heading into the Pro Championships on Labor Day in Seattle. They'll have home field advantage in that one, and then Nationals in October in Florida. Seattle, assuming they don't collapse, going to improve to 2-1 this year against Revolver, but 2-0 this weekend. And you could say, yeah, Revolver missing Grant Lindsley and Sam Canner and Patrick Bayless. Grant Lindsley's the best initiation cutter in the world. I'm not sure that trio is more impactful than Matt Rader, Jacob Janin, Chris Kassednar, and you can throw Will Chen into that mix. Will Chen got hurt, I believe at Masters Nationals, and I mean, Rader's really enjoying this, I guarantee it. He wishes he could be out there, hopefully that left knee injury is not serious. But even from the sidelines, without cleats on, he is an emotional powerhouse for this team.
Extra time here in between points. Revolver with a team huddle as they use a timeout. Could 2017 be the year of the Pacific Northwest? You have to go back a decade, 2007. Last time Sockeye was on top of the world on the men's side for the club. Seattle Mixtape won it that year as well, ironically. They'll be playing for the first leg championship of this Triple Crown tonight.
You know, last year in the men's division, it was Boston, who hadn't won in a very long time. In the incarnation of Ironside, they had never won, despite being close. 9 straight years in the semifinals. And finally in 2016, they reached the summit in the most dramatic fashion on Universe Point in Rockford. Maybe this could be the year for Seattle after being so close so many times. A lot of ultimate left, but this is an impressive performance from Seattle today. The D-line converting on Revolver's mistakes is what really stands out to me down the stretch during this run from 10-9 to 14-9. And it really was 9-all. So it's a 5-0 run with 4 straight breaks in which Sockeye has not turned it over once. And Revolver's O-line prides itself on playing D after return.
Schlockett, Joy, here's Marcy. Coming to the far sideline, Sanchez dumps it back over to Schlockett. Schlockett goes to Bo Kittredge in the center, and a pick was called as Marcy collided with Carnegie. Team effort, when you look at Seattle's performance and kind of review it, we saw the highlight play by Carnegie on the catch for the score, but his defense today, relentless, his athleticism.
And the team effort is the phrase, because what we say at the beginning.
Okay, observer rolling. Come here, come here, come here. There we go.
7 of the 10 male USA World Games players are on these two teams. 6 for Revolver. Yes, they don't have Grant Lindsley today, but you think of the talent disparity at the very top level. Seattle has won this as a team.
Got toward the end zone, and it is hauled in. Nice grab by Simon Higgins. That snaps the 5-0 blitz by Sockeye. Will it be a little too late for Revolver? Higgins with his 5th point.
Want to see more of this from Higgins. I think he's a capable thrower. I think he's a better deep cutter. When that disc went up, there was very little doubt in my mind that he would come down with it. To the contrary, on several of his hucks, there has been plenty of doubt when they've left his hands if they were the right decisions and if they would work. Big statistical day, but certainly plenty of throws he'd want to have back. I gotta say, Sean, Revolver's D lines, plural, can go on a 5-0 run. It's important that Seattle wins this game here. If they don't, look out.
Don't leave the door open.
Yeah.
Any type of crowd.
Finish off San Francisco on your first offensive point when you have the chance.
White, Christian Johnson, a couple of defenders getting ready to counter Harkness and Karlinski, free child out there, Murray. Can Seattle capture the U.S. Open Championship, leading 14-10 as they set the parts in place. Free child running freely, makes the catch in the center. He is marked by Eli Kurtz. Sockeye will take a shot. They're looking for Freechild. Turning on the Jets for the score. In stride, Seattle, your 2017 U.S. Open champions.
An emphatic exclamation point for Dylan Freechild and Seattle Sockeye. As soon as Zane Rankin released that disc, he put his arm in the air, knowing that Freechild was going to make the play. And look at Dylan take off. Eli Kearns had no chance. Freechild had a couple steps, and he knew it all the way. What a couple of weeks for Dylan Freechild. You win gold medal with so many of these Revolver guys in Poland, and then you beat that Revolver team twice with your brand new team at the US Open.
Seattle Sockeye, your 2017 US Open Ultimate Champs.
And this chapter of the rivalry, the Chris Kersednar Cup, goes to Seattle. The U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar. Find the official disc of USA Ultimate at more than 1,900 U.S. retail locations.
Seattle Sockeye is your 2017 U.S. Open Ultimate Champions. They knock off Revolver convincing fashion. 15-10, Sockeye takes home the first leg of the Triple Crown Tour. Dylan Freechild, who caught the championship gold, joins us. And Dylan, you look at this performance by your team. You lose Matt Rader yesterday to an injury. Jacob Jannon goes down in pregame warm-ups. What was the mindset? How'd you guys get this done against the potent Revolver team?
You know, we talked a lot last night, actually, at a meeting about just, you know, attacking every matchup confidently, you know, really unifying our thoughts, our minds, our hearts, and really just having one direction. And so it doesn't really, I mean, obviously it matters who's on the field. You know, we'd love to keep our top talent out there, but it didn't affect us that much. We know Revolver's missing some guys, and every tournament's different. You're always going to have a different look. Nationals is never the same as it is your team is at the beginning of the year. So, you know, really working on not letting those things affect us, and I thought we, you know, executed it great.
Hey, Dylan, congratulations. Roger told me before the game that the key to integrating you is to find the balance of playing your style and Sockeye style. What have been the challenges for you in fitting in with this team that had their own way of doing things?
I mean, not that challenging. I've played on plenty of teams, especially in the last 2 years. If you think World Games or WUGC, Rhino, Oregon, anything. You know, I love to be out there. I love to create space. You know, I love to just do the right thing. Obviously, sometimes my teammates and my coaches put me in a position to do some cool things, and I appreciate that. But it's really not too difficult for me. It was more identifying and learning how to identify with this team, you know. I'm obviously from down south, and that's a big part of my identity. But, you know, these guys appreciate the journey and work hard and value the process of becoming, you know, trying to become the best club team in the world. And that's something that I identify with, I'd say, even more than my roots and where I'm from. So it's easy to be unified with this team.
Looks like you're missing the victory sprints right now. I'm sure you'll get to catch up in a little bit. What, as you look forward, you get 2 victories over Revolver this weekend. What can Sockeye still improve over the coming months as you build towards Sarasota?
I mean, plenty. There was some decision making, you know, in the middle of that game. You know, that's really the hardest part. Towards the end of the game, obviously the urgency and adrenaline kicks in, but it's that middle of that game that is so tough on the mind. And we need to work on that. We need to work on our D efficiency. Although today was great, you know, copying this performance game after game after game is difficult, but that's what you practice, and that's why you go out so many days and work. But you know, it was great today, but de-efficiency has been a small issue, and you know, there are plenty of small nuances that we're obviously going to see different looks from Revolver, different looks from Truck, different looks from teams that we fortunately came out on top of, but you know, teams aren't done working, so always staying ahead of the game.
Dylan, congratulations. Go enjoy this one with your teammates.
Thank you.
Dylan Freechild and Seattle Sockeye, your 2017 U.S. Open champs. Time now for the Discraft Play of the Game, brought to you by Discraft. And how about the bid? The beautiful haul in by Hussein Carnegie in the first half, and it looked like Revolver had the D. Carnegie comes flying in, and that just set the tone for the rest of the day.
Ashland Joy attacked it exactly the way he wanted to. The only thing he didn't do was catch the D, and Carnegie was there to save the day, saved Dylan a turnover, gave him an extra assist. Just a fantastic performance from Trent Dillon and Dylan Freechild and the rest of the Seattle Sockeye team. 15-10 in the finals, and it's back-to-back years, Sean, that we've been really surprised, frankly, in the U.S. Open. Doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be surprised in the same way in October, but the narrative very interesting after this weekend.
Another star for Seattle Sockeye, Trent Dillon, joins us. And Trent, congratulations on the U.S. Open Championship. Take us through the emotions of this game. It was kind of a bizarre game. You had the weather delay at halftime. What'd you guys do to stay focused and come out and execute in that second half?
Just trying to stay focused on us. Just trying to do a lot of self-care when we were inside during the delay. A lot of good talk and mental focus from guys like Phil Murray, Simon Montague, and a lot of just, vets that have been there before, been through that type of adversity and guided us through. So it was quite natural, and I credit it to the guys that have been there before.
Trent, you've got a lot of experience both with Seattle and around the country, but you're still relatively young, and you're playing against so much talent on Revolver. I know you're confident in your abilities, but do you ever get nervous going up against all the matchups that you have to try and defend on a team like Revolver?
Yeah, I'd say it's like a good nervous, tapping into that kind of anxiety about covering someone that is really good can make you run faster, can make you feel less tired. The key is finding a way to do that, and then also, stay chilly on the turn, stay composed, run the team's offense. And that's things that I'm working on, and I'm hoping to figure out within the next few weeks of practice. There's a lot of things I can work on coming out of this weekend. So
how nice is it for you to have Dylan Freechild to guard in practice and no longer in the games?
It's great. I love it. Yeah, it takes me back to college a little bit. It's definitely like a great learning and practice environment.
Trent, congratulations on the U.S. Open Championship. We'll see you down the road.
Thanks.
Trent Dillon, Seattle Sockeye, the brackets of the 2017 U.S. Open Championships. 15-10, Sockeye begins the Triple Crown Tour in style. So for Evan Lepler, I always have a good type of nervousness when I work with Evan.
Right.
Just like Trent. For Evan Lepler, Sean Kenny saying so long from the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. Once again, your final, Sockeye, your champion, 15-10 over Revolver. All games airing on the ESPN networks or streaming live on the ESPN app. Or to watch the entire game as well as other games on our family of networks, log on to watchespn.com. This has been a presentation of ESPN.